Hello from the end of Lockdown 3.0, everyone. Today, we are joined again by Joe Ward to review all things Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Hello, viewers.
So I'll be talking from a very personal experience of my Virgin Holidays fan flight trip. This very special holiday offered around 400 guests an exclusively designed trip to Galaxy's Edge in only February 2019. This included a very special The Falcon decorated plane, and the pilot was playing along saying, "We're jumping to light speed." We met Warwick Davis, who I'm sure you all know has appeared in 7 Star Wars films since his Ewok debut in Episode 6. There's also a short talk from an Imagineer of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and, he revealed that these designers really do know what they're talking about. They don't take their job lightly and effort rarely is put in. We also had a late night after hours entry into Galaxy's Edge with all the attractions and rides remaining open, and this was a never-before-done experience, and it was fascinating to see Galaxy's Edge in the darkness without hordes of crowds. And of course, there was much merchandise, exclusive toys and collectibles to go around. We will be getting into that later, so be sure to stick around. On to the actual park itself. But Galaxy's Edge is not just a park, I think. This is 14 acres of living, breathing, in-universe Star Wars. And the land is, of course, Black Spire Outpost on Batuu, canonically right at the edge of the Outer Rim. So Batuu is already well integrated into Star Wars canon, a name drop in Solo, a Star Wars story, in many, many books and comics. Joe, what are your initial thoughts?
The first thing I would say is when it was announced, it was largely welcomed across the kind of community of people very interested in theme parks and in Star Wars, that it was something that Disney really needed. Disney at the moment, particularly in America, is competing very close to toe with Universal Studios and the other rising theme parks. It's vital that Disney maintains the engagement. When a new attraction is revealed, attendance and engagement spikes. So is it needed? Yes, I think it's something that Disney did need, and things like it will be something that Disney will continue to need. And as a consequence, as you say, we have been brought this excellent attraction. Hopefully it is the beginning of a trend of new Star Wars developments in Disney World parks across the world.
It's interesting what you say about the success of Galaxy's Edge. I would agree saying that it is a success, but at the opening in May 2019, for the rest of 2019, there wasn't rarely a spike in attendance, so that left critics thinking, is it a success, is it not? The crowds weren't massive. Disney did put in a number of crowd control features. Perhaps they went a bit overboard with that. But I think in early 2020, just before coronavirus, coincidentally, I think there was a short spike in attendance and a massive rise in spending per person. So I think overall, and in the next few years after the coronavirus has died down, I think we should see Galaxy's Edge be a resounding success for Disney. Into the land itself, I think the first thing I noticed was the overwhelming realism and authenticity of Galaxy's Edge. And Disney originally planned to create an existing planet like Tatooine, but I think it was the correct approach to create an original planet, Batuu, of course. It worked just right because there were no expectations from previous Star Wars material. This gave the designers room to attack something from a really new angle. This authenticity is continued throughout as we see these ancient stone temples with fully decked out interiors. And every single spot is covered in these really intricate features from the in-universe Aurebesh language, and absolutely everything looks like it belongs in Star Wars. It kind of reminded me of the original trilogy Macquarie paintings and the Lothal architecture from Star Wars Rebels. So the overall look worked just right. The money they spent on it and the time, it really reflects the beautiful attention to detail.
I completely agree. I've visited the parks and I can confirm that the attention to detail that Disney always puts in to pursue immersion and the best possible experience for all its guests. I think there's plenty of stories from cast members about how important it is that they stay in character. And as you say, it attests to the attention to detail and truly gives it the edge over other theme parks.
You mentioned the cast members, and that's an interesting thing because the workers, cast members, of course, and they refer to us guests as travellers, not simply simply guests to Disney World. That gives the idea that we are somewhere else, not on Earth in this Star Wars land. And if you talk to these cast members, they'll tell you intricate stories about where they come from, their in-universe Star Wars lives. They're street sellers on Batuu. They're not workers. They're residents of Black Spire Outpost. This feeling even extends to the characters of Rey, Chewbacca, V. Maradi, a new Resistance spy she is. You know, Kylo Ren walks around the land and he interrogates guests as they pass, and he did that to me, and properly intimidating that there's proper heavy armored stormtroopers milling about. I think that was really realistic, and I think one of the downsides of that is that I would have liked to see more characters walking around, because there was still a rarity if you saw the stormtroopers, and I would have liked to see more of that. You know, maybe some bounty hunters walking around collecting bounties on the guests, or aliens or robots. I think that could have been increased slightly. Maybe in the future years we'll see an expansion in the character interactions, but I think that was done well in my experience, at least.
A lot of reviews on TripAdvisor that I was looking at earlier would agree those elements of immersion, they were fantastic, but they could be improved by being more present throughout.
When you're inside the park, I think what's interesting to note is these massive stone spires which surround the park. They're 100-foot tall. When you're up close to these things, it looks like a mountain literally just spurted up out of the ground. Hence the name, Black Spire Outpost. And you can't see the tops of trees, other rides or anything. You're completely immersed. And I also really liked the wide stone tunnel entrance. So between this tunnel and the big spires, I think while you were inside these boundaries, you weren't on planet Earth, you were somewhere else entirely, and I think that worked just right. And something else, I think one of the most impressive creations of Galaxy's Edge is, of course, the 100-foot long Millennium Falcon. I don't really know what else to say other than it is the Millennium Falcon in person. You can see the entirety of the ship and no corners have been cut, really. Every feature is completely screen accurate. And that's not even it. The park is filled with many other vehicles like X-Wings, A-Wings, many speeder bikes, and the introduction of the all-new TIE Echelon fighter as well. That was a very nice ship to see in person. It would have been nice to see that ship in episode 9 actually, but can't have everything.
Can't have everything. It really is the Star Wars fan's dream. All this attention to detail makes for excellent immersion into a world that you've really always dreamed to be a part of. This sheer dedication by the Disney cast members and the entirety of the park operation, it makes it a truly amazing attraction.
This land does look different to anything else in Star Wars. I think that is something the designers already captured, because I think they used Morocco architecture as a starting point here. But it's got elements of that Tatooine feel, the Lothal architecture, but even from the curvature of the buildings you'll see in Galaxy's Edge, I think this ancient, overgrown temples, very old, yet with the newer Star Wars electronic systems, it looks very different, and you will remember Batuu. I think it's one of my favourite planets overall. I mean, I'm probably biased because in a sense I've been there. It is distinctive and it is very memorable.
So bringing it all together, everything we have discussed here about the park, really, what conclusions can we make? How can we negotiate between some of the issues that Oliver's mentioned and the sentiments of TripAdvisor reviewers to come up with kind of a final verdict about Galaxy's Edge and if it's worth visiting and what it means for Disney in the years to come? Well, it seems that Galaxy's Edge is incredibly cutting edge. Sci-fi element of being of the future is nicely representative of the fact that it issues a new dawn, really, for immersive theme park experience. The exhilaration of the rides and the immersion of not being on a ride, food stores, souvenir shops, the way it does it with its attention to detail and its true admiration for the Star Wars universe symbolizes a new kind of theme park attraction, really, that we're going to hopefully be seeing more and more of in the years and decades to come. And what it means for Disney now is that they've set the bar high. As they move forward, as they continue to maintain that engagement and fight off their competitors, who, by the way, will also be trying to meet this new standard, Disney are going to be issuing more and more brand new things, and there's plenty to be looking forward to as the bar continues to raise higher and higher.
You mentioned this new immersive method of storytelling, of theme park experience. I think this was first done with the Harry Potter experience, and rival brands thought, oh, we need a bit of that. So, of course, Disney thought, what better way to do that with the Star Wars experience? And as with the very contentious Star Wars fan base, of course, expectations were very high. I've seen quite a few negative reviews for Galaxy's Edge, quite often unfounded. I've taken a more balanced approach here. As you said, I think we can concur that the attention to detail, the realism, is not lost on the designers and Disney in general. They took their undertaking very, very seriously, pumped a lot of money into this project. Concept designers from the films, people who are more familiar than anybody in what Star Wars looks like, what Star Wars feels like. And the end product, as I mentioned, is something you've never seen before. You can only rarely experience it and get a sense of it through walking around, seeing it for yourself. And at the end of the day, I think it is very near perfect, as you will see in our review. You viewers will have noticed we have yet to discuss the rides of Galaxy's Edge. Of course, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, and Rise of the Resistance. Both very, very interesting experiences with a lot to dissect. So we will be returning very soon with a video analysing these amazing rides.
Don't worry, guys. It is on its way. Thank you for the delight of appearing in OTH Studios yet again.
It's alright, it's my pleasure.